Get the fine china out, fellas, because today we'll be talking about the club that my mundane life revolves around. So real quick, sorry about the lack of uploads, I was kinda sick. And don't worry, it wasn't because I overworked myself or something like that, it was still my own doing though. So I haven't made a video about Arsenal since last October. So let's just start from all the way in the beginning. Hopes were high for Arsenal, having been one of the top spending clubs in that window. We got a centre back in Ben White for 58 million. Martin Odegaard's loan spell was made permanent, and that was one of the transfers I was really excited about. Albert Sambi Lokonga and Nuno Tavares were some good young pieces that were brought in. But then came the controversy of the window. Aaron Ramsdale. Now, I wasn't like some of the brain-dead fan base that were crying and threatening Ramsdale, but at the time it was definitely a weird move for me. I didn't hate the move. For how bad Sheffield United's defense was, Ramsdale did all he could. The problem I had was the transfer fee. 28 million for a keeper that just relegated to the championship, it just didn't really sit right. And then finally, the last signing of that window, and by far my favorite, Takahiro Tomigotsu for 18.6 million. Why was he my favorite signing? Simple. Asian at Arsenal. The history of Asian players at Arsenal doesn't really have the best track record, so I was a little more hopeful with Tomiyasu. One of the key aspects of his game that was talked about a lot was his anticipation, and especially in the Premier League, that can put you at the very top of the pile. But we have to remember, the Premier League season actually starts in the middle of the transfer window, so most of the players I just mentioned that we bought in the summer window didn't actually get a chance to play until next month. And on top of that, the team had numerous injuries. To make things even worse, both Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexandre Lacazette were out due to illness, meaning we had to start Folarin Balogun in our first match. Don't get me wrong, I love Folarin.
Please join the US.
But starting a player who had just 72 minutes of senior football wasn't exactly ideal. So in the end, we were shocked by a newly promoted Brentford side which continued the streak of rocky starts Arsenal had throughout the last few years. I was pissed, a lot of fans were. But looking back, that was a lot of blind anger, because you have to remember, there were just a lot of injuries going on, a lot of our players were missing, and not to mention some of our transfers weren't even done yet. However, in our eyes, we didn't see it that way. We just saw the fact that after 2 years, still nothing had changed under Mikel Arteta. I had been on the trust the process copium, but my patience was very quickly running out. Then Man City and Chelsea came along, and we were terrible. When you force yourself to watch Pablo Mari defend, all you feel is a sense of dread.
Why, God, why?
So yeah, after our third match when we lost 5-0 to Manchester City, I really was strongly on Arteta out. I didn't know who we'd replace him with, but I just thought his time was over. There was actually a moment in time during the season where I thought if we kept Mikel Arteta, we'd be fighting to survive relegation. It was that bad. But just when the lake of hope dried up, a river of false hope flowed slowly into said lake. Arsenal beat Norwich, and better yet, Tomiyasu's debut was solid. Then the Gunners went to Burnley, another 1-0 win. And to end off September, we destroyed Spurs at home. In just 3 weeks, Arsenal had turned it around completely. And Takahiro Tomigotsu was voted Player of the Month. Exceptional Asian talent in really any top sport is kind of rare, whether that be because of family values, influencing paths, or just ignorance in scouting. So for me, it means the world to see an Asian excelling at my favorite club. Like, I am genuinely getting the same feeling I had when Linsandy happened. I was still skeptical though. Norwich are Norwich. The Burnley match was questionable at times too. The partnership between Gabriel and Ben White was slowly coming to pass, but there were still some shaky moments. But as long as they'd continue to learn from each other and become stronger, I'd be happy. And then there was Tottenham, which, don't get me wrong, we destroyed them. We deserved that victory. But Nuno's Tottenham were garbage. There's one thing losing 3-0 to Crystal Palace away. There's another thing only having 2 shots the entire match and also having less than 40% of the possession.
How'd he do that? No idea.
However, as more matches played out, the more I was happily proven wrong, and Arteta ball was starting to become much more beautiful by the week. Brighton was a struggle, but Palace you could see how fluid the passing was getting, even if it was for 15 minutes. Aston Villa saw more of that quick passing play, and boom, another solid win against Leicester away. And remember all those critics, including myself, who doubted Ramsdale? Well, I'll just let Nikki say it. Ramsdale is the real deal. His saves may be a little overdramatic, but at least he makes the stops. We were begging for a keeper who could distribute the ball and benefit our build-up play. Ramsdale is exactly that guy. In November, Arsenal played a club that Maurizio Zamparini would be proud of, and Emile Smith-Rowe continued his brilliant form, scoring the only goal. The next match was Liverpool.
Let's give it away. Poorly, chance here, Jota, surely, 2-0.
Hey look, it's Tomiyasu's first assist. December is probably one of my favorite months of the year, mainly because everything feels a little more jolly. But remember, I support a club that makes it its #1 priority to always drop my mental health. Man United at Old Trafford was looking promising, but then Arsenal man appeared from the shadows. Then we played Everton, and Arsenal never looked sharp in that match. After being 1-0 down early on and having 2 goals disallowed, the Toffees never gave up. Richarlison scored in the 80th minute, and then Demarai Gray's belter gave Everton all 3 points. However, Arsenal bounced back with wins against Southampton, West Ham, Leeds, and Norwich to end 2021 in 4th place. The promised land, the homeland. We've returned, for now at least. Next was a New Year's Day bout against Manchester City. I had to wake up at 7 a.m. for this match, which is unheard of for me on the first day of the year. But it was so absolutely worth it because I saw by far the best football from this club I had seen in the last 4 years. We were overwhelming Manchester City, and eventually Bukayo Saka opened the score. Man City were quite literally losing to a man wearing an AirPod. Unfortunately, in the second half, Xhaka returned to old Xhaka and gave away a penalty. And just to make things even better, Rodri stole the win at the death for City. The next few weeks were pretty forgettable. Nottingham Forest eliminated us from the FA Cup, Liverpool sent us packing in the Carabao Cup semis, and finally we drew against Burnley at home. We also didn't make any quality January signing. But honestly, I don't really know why people were expecting a quality signing in January. We had already spent so much money. Our owner is Stan Kroenke. Like, we've been over this so many years, how have we forgotten now? But Aubameyang did leave for Barcelona, and it was overdue, really. Ever since signing Da Ting, Aubameyang has just looked very washed. Sometimes a footballer just needs new scenery, and that's what Aubameyang needed, because now he's excelling at Barcelona under Xavi, so good for him. But one international break later, and Arsenal went on an incredible run of form. For the first time in a long time, watching Arsenal actually made me happy. Wolves this year are a hard team to break down, but we did it twice. And the second time around is easily one of my favorite Arsenal matches of the season. Nicolas Pepe off the bench levels the score in the 82nd minute, and then Alexandre Lacazette, who didn't have a single thing go his way throughout the entire night, never gave up. He scored the winner in the 90 plus 5th minute of the match. Well, actually, it was a Jose Sa own goal, but that was besides the point. We had just come back from 1-0 down in a matter of less than 10 minutes. It was incredible to watch, and what made it even better was the atmosphere in the Emirates. I have no idea what's been going on, but this season, the stadium's been loud. For years, it had been mocked for being a library. It was just so refreshing. Arsenal then went on to beat Watford away, and then Leicester at home. Liverpool was next, and had Lacazette not been so selfless, things could have gone differently.
Diogo Jota.
Aston Villa away, I was a little scared we'd drop points, but Bukayo Saka said otherwise. Another win. Later after the match, Saka criticized some of the refs, and for good reason. This is a dangerous challenge, and it was happening throughout the entire match. But ESPN FC. Oh, ESPN FC. For decades, ESPN has covered football very poorly. Add on top of the fact that now ESPN is slowly dying, they are trying to be relevant in the worst way possible, by making the most asinine takes this world has ever seen. And Ali Moreno's take on the whole Saka situation is just one of many different examples we could talk about.
Oh, you're a skillful player. I see. Oh, you're about pace. Don't you worry about it. Here I come, and I'm gonna make sure that when I have my chance, you're not gonna be able to use your pace. You're not gonna be able to use your skill, and I am gonna break you. Where's your skill now, buddy? Where's your speed now? Where's daddy and mommy now?
Oh my god, shut the f*** up! So, 10 more games remaining, and also multiple games in hand. There's a possibility we could even reach 3rd place Chelsea. I mean, it's incredible. We were at the very bottom of the table at the start, and now we're about to qualify for the Champions League. So, The last 2 weeks have been kinda shit. First, we lose to Palace 3-0. We weren't good, but credit to Palace, they've really put up a fight against some of the best teams this season. I mean, look at City. They could only grab just one singular point from 2 matches. So it happens, right? We still got a game in hand. Just make sure it doesn't happen again. And then it happened again. This time against Brighton. In just 2 weeks, a hopeful advantage was bottled away, and now Tottenham are above us again. I love this game. Not to mention, Thomas Partey is out injured for a couple games, and Kieran Tierney is out for the rest of the season.
I'm talking to God himself! I need my prayer!
But you know what? Just ignoring that for a little bit, because I want to just cope, I'm pretty happy with how this season has gone so far. And that's probably because of my very, very low expectations. But one thing I want to do is talk about the team, because it deserves a lot of plaudits. And the big difference here, as opposed to seasons past, this is a team that plays as a complete unit. 4 years, and I get it, I've said that phrase like 600,000 times in this video. But for many, many seasons, we have constantly relied on individuality. Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, the list goes on. But this is a breath of fresh air. We fans have been constantly complaining about the fact that this team doesn't play with enough passion. That isn't a problem anymore. There's a tensity that you can just feel from watching the matches, not just because of the crowd, but also the players. Overall, it's just a very likable squad. It reminds me of the Denver Nuggets squad throughout the last few seasons. Ironic, because Stan Kroenke's son owns that team. I don't particularly know why trophyless Manchester United supporters constantly come knocking at our door, but you can't speak ever again. Not after the Ben White slander. The other center back in the partnership, Gabriel, has a tendency to make some rash decisions, but for the most part, he's been excellent. Those two, just as a partnership, have grown more than I could have ever imagined in the first season. But that's the other thing. Arsenal's defending for once doesn't make me want to, because now there's a proper system. I've seen interviews with these defenders talking about how they defend, knowing what their job is, and once Takahiro Tomogotsu comes back, I'll be stress-free. Midfield-wise, Granit Xhaka has actually been pretty decent. And good for him, because he's clowning on every single degen who decided to send death threats to his family. Thomas Partey has his moments, especially against Palace for some reason, but he's been such an important outlet throughout the entire season. We need him to come back if Arsenal want to qualify for Champions League this season. And what about Martin Odegaard? Baller. 10 out of 10 signing. I knew he'd blossom into something beautiful ever since we were linked with a loan with him. 6 goals, 3 assists so far. He's averaging almost 2 key passes per game. And Bukayo Saka is averaging almost the same too. And this man's a joy to watch. 9 goals, 5 assists. Oh, beautiful. Gabriel Martinelli fell off the hype map for a while, but he's bounced back. 5 goals, 3 assists, even earning his first call-up to the Brazilian squad. Croydon De Bruyne, Emile Smith-Rowe has been by far my favorite player to watch throughout the entire season. I don't like drawing comparisons to Messi because we all know how that usually goes, but Emile Smith-Rowe has some mesmerizing close ball control. He's so quick with it, and it never leaves his body. And just the way he shifts his body, changes direction so quickly, it's just so fun to watch, man. I think that just really sums up the season so far. We've been relatively fun to watch, actually. Now, another problem that holds us back from finishing 4th is the striker position. I love Alexandre Lacazette. He's like a genuine father figure to this team. His work rate is amazing. Nothing could go his way and he'd still keep chugging on. And he also has 7 assists. I feel like no one ever talks about that. If Lacazette just had his 18-19 form along with the excellent work rate he has right now, we wouldn't even have to worry about buying a new striker. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. And I feel for Laka, but his finishing has been bad. So if Arsenal want to compete consistently against the top 6 like before, we need a better striker. Another problem we have is depth, and you're really starting to see the cracks as the season nears the end. Our remaining schedule is pretty tough. We still have to play Chelsea away, Manchester United at home, West Ham away could definitely be a problem as well, and Everton at home is our last match, but even that could be difficult knowing Everton's situation right now. Some other worries are the likes of Newcastle, who have been in pretty decent form as of late, ignore the fact that they lost like 5-1 to Tottenham, and even Leeds, who have been consistently improving under Jesse Marsch. And our main threat keeping us from top 4, Tottenham, have an easier schedule. The two main threats they have are Liverpool and themselves, and the final day matchup against Norwich is the cherry on top. But Arsenal and Tottenham do have to face each other still, and that'll be on May 12th, and that could decide who places in fourth. For a neutral, this is a match between two rejuvenated projects. For a supporter of either side, it's gonna be heart in your mouth action. If I somehow survive May 12th, I'll be genuinely surprised. But Arsenal Football Club, I beg of you, please qualify for the Champions League. I have been yearning for this since 2017. Please just let me feel some kind of peace going into the summer months. That's all I ask for.
So, along with being sick, I guess Duke Energy is also out to get me. I am extremely lucky that I got pretty much the entire video done up to this point, and then my power went out. So now let me just shout out all the patrons. Massive thank you to Andre Root, Dark Wolf 476, Janos Balas, Alex Rod, Daniel Ortiz, Ethan Scaraccio, Francisco Hernandez, Joseph Bonfante, Nguyen Mintang, The Motor Drive, Victor, Ariel L. Floor, Declan Malloy, Emmett Shea, Louis Tomicus, Trevor Batson, Andres Was Never Here, Big Bird, Cash Getty, Chris Damasceno, Exo, Thief America, Itachi the Homie, It's Nofo, James Huggett, Casa Chiefs, Mark Morcos, Max Grenadier, Mohammed Al-Bakhale, Nicholas Baptista, and Tyler Avon. If you'd like to join the Patreon, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow me on Twitter for teams getting jinxed pretty much 24/7. Follow me on Instagram if you want. Follow me on TikTok, trying to get to 7,000 there. And of course, you can follow my inactive Twitch. But until then, I'll see you guys.